Hello, and welcome to the Kathleen Spracklin podcast. I am a woman on a mission to gather a cadre of writers, thinkers, and teachers who are transforming the world one character at a time. And it all starts with one thing: a deep understanding of human motivation, why people do what they do, and the forces that drive them. To gain that understanding, I am mining the intersection of psychology, theology, and philosophy to make you a better writer. This is episode 77, Writing with Emotion, How the Book Came About, Part 3. I've been sharing the story of how I ended up writing the book, Writing with Emotion. It started with my niece, who had given up writing because she was raising and homeschooling 3 boys and did not have the time to write. And I had been working on the problem for about 5 months, trying to come up with a solution that would help. In the meantime, I continued to add cards to my Zettelkasten notebox, which I was really enjoying, and the extra cards, I was always on the thought process of how can this help to solve the problem that my niece was having. Well, along the way, I got the bug to write. I thought of the idea of writing a chapter book for youth where a Zettelkasten appears in the book, and I just casually mentioned how to form one in case the young person would want to create a Zettelkasten. Part of that was my own wish that I had started mine when I was a young person. So I started in writing, and soon I ran straight into the problem my niece was facing. I only had short time spans in which to write because I was still working full-time. Now, mind you, I was 75 and it was high time that I retired, but I wasn't retired at the moment. And so I only had little snippets of time in which to write. And I quickly ran into a problem that I surmised was the problem that my niece had faced, which is that to try to get back into where you were in the story could easily chew up most, if not all, of the available time to write. So I realized firsthand, finally, what the nature of the problem was. I didn't have a solution yet, but at least I knew kind of experientially what the solution had to solve. Well, along the course of things, I ran into a very, very fun video. This was a video, it was a part of a Nova broadcast. Neil deGrasse Tyson was playing with a dog named Chaser, who had an amazing vocabulary. The dog Chaser knew the names of about 1,000 toys that it had in its collection, and you could give Chaser a command to go fetch a given toy, and he'd come back with exactly the toy you asked for. Well, what Neil deGrasse Tyson did was he slipped a new toy into the stack, a stuffed Darwin doll. So it was time for the test, and he told Chaser, "Go get Darwin." And Chaser takes off for the pile. He's gone for a little bit, longer than usual. Comes back, looks at Neil deGrasse Tyson. Huh? Neil deGrasse Tyson said again, "Go get Darwin." The dog disappeared. He's gone for a longer time. Came back. Huh? 3rd time, he said, "Go get Darwin." This time, the dog ran out and came right back holding the Darwin doll. Pretty amazing for a dog, don't you think? And that made me think a little bit about the subconscious mind, because I was thinking about dogs don't have a verbal mind the way we do, but clearly the animal understands a lot of words. And it made me think that perhaps our subconscious mind was that way as well, that not that our subconscious mind was nonverbal, but that it was less verbal and probably not, or almost certainly not organized verbally, probably organized emotionally. So that card got filed in the Zettelkasten too, near the cards for Sertolongus and the card for Feynman and his problems. Well, at that point, ideas began to pop. And in particular, a thought occurred to me suddenly about a job that I had. I worked for 3 years at Oregon Social Learning Center, where I was statistician for Dr. Thomas DeShawn. And during my tenure there, I wrote statistical programs for Dr. DeShawn to test his hypothesis. And he was working with troubled teens in this database. And the data was very interesting because coders were able to capture the emotional reactions of the participants in a family interaction or in a social interaction between the youth. And they were very, very accurate in the sense of being very reproducible. You could have 2 coders, both trained under the same system, and they would be statistically matched in how they coded those interactions. So that made me realize that, if a system can be worked out to capture emotions that precisely, it ought to be able to be possible to work out a system to capture the emotions of a story. And if you have the emotions of the story captured, you ought to be able to reconnect with them just as easily, just the way a method actor reconnects with the emotions written into a script. So that was a whole new path for my thought processes, and the problem narrowed down, but at that point in time, it still wasn't the answer. But I will leave it at that for tonight because I have something very exciting to share with you that I will take just another moment for. I have my author's proof copy of the book, Writing with Emotions. It's here, and it's really just going to be a matter of days before you'll be able to order this book. I'm going to make the book available at cost. I'm going to sell it to you, make it available to you for just the cost of printing and shipping. I made my entire 35 lesson course on YouTube that covered all this material in depth. It was totally free. Well, I can't make a print book free, but there's just so much in the book that is just really does benefit from being a print book that you can hold into your hands. So the next best thing that I could do was to simply make that book available at cost. If you want to be notified when you can order this book, just go to my website, KathleenSpracklin.com/earlybird, put your name on the list, and you will be among the very first to hear about when you can order this book. Quite soon now. Thank you, and I'll continue the story of where this book came from tomorrow. Bye-bye.